Hi everyone. So this webinar is in continuation to our last webinar that we had on Smart Convert, right? Where we discussed, the comprehensive SQL converter, which does SQL conversion, schema migration, and helps you migrate your overall data platform to, more cloud native stack like GCP we demonstrated last time. So we've probably seen how it the tool sort of automates the complex process of converting the SQL dialects or Spark notebooks to schema which is compliant to BigQuery. But here's the thing, right? Migration is not the entire journey. So the journey doesn't end at Smart Convert. And in our last conversation, we also spoke how the entire tool chain has to come together for a migration to be successful and to give customers enough faith that the migration that we have planned sort of has worked, right? So say once your data is in BigQuery, you've done your migration, you've ran your code, and the data has been moved to BigQuery. Now, how do you know that it's arrived intact, right? There are no gaps, there are no misses. How can you verify that every row, every calculation that you've done, or the business rule that got translated, that's exactly what was there, and how do you do that validation? And that's why we are here today. So I'm excited to introduce Smart Recon, which is another accelerator that we have in our kitty of accelerators. While Smart Convert gets your data and your code moved, Smart Recon ensures that it's kind of has moved correctly. And think of it as a quality assurance partner that automatically validates and reconciles your entire migrated data from the source to the target platforms, right? And builds the entire automation around it. And today we have, of course, Joy on the call. And he kind of leads for us and also heads our business consulting division. He comes with a very wide experience in building data products for helping organizations progress their data maturity journey. And Joy will demonstrate how Smart Recon works and how it seamlessly picks up where Smart Convert leaves off, and provide the automation around data validation, intelligent discrepancy detection, and comprehensive reconciliation report that would give you complete confidence in your migration. Over to you, Joy.
Thank you, Anjana, and a warm welcome to everybody on this webinar, whether you're on this live or you're catching up later on as per your convenience. In the overall context, just to summarize and recap what we have already covered in your series, I would like to share a few slides and then launch into the demo. Now, the whole crux of this, like Anjana mentioned, is to address the challenges of migration. And how do you go about doing that? With the help of accelerators to cut down risk, cut down time, cut down costs, and have better quality results. So giving you a context about what BluePi does and what we do in overall data platform context, I would like to kind of quickly run you through our pedigree. The company was founded in 2012, and from then on, we have had a wonderful journey across the overall data ecosystem, helping people ride the cloud wave, enabling transformations, migrations, analytics, as well as app development. We have worked with pioneers in the overall industry across different verticals, whether it be CPG, QSR, retail, media and entertainment, manufacturing, BFSI, or life sciences. Now, the crux of all of this has been, of course, to enable our customers who are leaders in their own right, like definitely many of you are in your own way, in your industry and work, in enabling them to actually treat data as an asset and get valuable insights from it. And typically that has been log-jammed and has been kind of bottled up in past legacy elements. We help unlock this with our very focused services and centers of excellence. The umbrella effect comes to data strategy, which is very important when you look at a complete enterprise transformation, covering the pillars of processes, technology, people, culture, and change management to ensure continuous adoption and ROI, enabled by various technology and innovation pillars in terms of data platforms, which are typically on the hyperscalers, the governance aspect of it, which is universal, cutting across ingestion to its output from third party to internal departments and functions. Analytics and BI to enable not only run-of-the-mill elements, but also and bring in out-of-the-box kind of element where people can do a plug and play and enable self-service analytics, all of which is given the cutting edge with very deep focused data science elements. I'm not using the word AI and Gen AI because sometimes it is used lightly. The fundamental basis of this is to understand, grasp how those data elements can enable AI driven insights. And that sometimes needs deeper engineering than just enabling a RAG enabled or a fine-tuned model. We do that whole gamut, but why are we talking about that? The crux of this is good data. And getting that data into the right place is what migration does. So if you look at it, it's like you might get a wonderful Ferrari, but if you don't have the right petrol in that engine, if you try to run it on a diesel lubricant, then of course this will not work, right? So it's kind of getting the right kind of data in, the right grade of oil in, its consistency, its dependency, so that your engine runs. It's a horse great for the race course. The urgency for this is something that we have observed not over a few implementations, but dozens and dozens of implementations across customers, like I mentioned, who pan across multiple regions and demographies. Typically, while data volumes are exploding, most of the enterprises, sadly, are mired in a quagmire of technology, process, culture, and other difficulties which do not enable them to move as fast. So the time to value, if you are a business owner, if you are a developer, if you are a manager, you will realize that everything boils down to how fast can you deliver value and how valuable that is. Those two components need to be addressed simultaneously. They're two sides of the same coin. You can't do something fast and say, oh, it broke because we did it fast. No. Similarly, you can't do something so slow to say, oh, we have to do it better, so we will take so much time. It's a fine balance. And that's where innovation experience comes in. Like Anjana mentioned, tying it back to what we spoke about just 5 minutes back, Smart Convert is one part of it. It's like understanding, what is my legacy? What am I coming in from? What do I need to carry over? Can I enable a better visualization of this? Can I enable more confidence in doing that together? What Smart Recon does is then takes it forward and enables that acceleration. That acceleration in terms of data movement from your source to your target. Now, typically we follow the Meridian architecture, right? Now, you could follow any architecture for that matter, as long as it is one of the standard ones like TOGAF, right? So when we do that across environments, again, we have to move data across environments when the source database and the target database are the same, but the schemas and the structures and the manipulations of the transformations can differ. And they do differ because you are trying to move from bronze to silver to gold. In all of that, and observation and industry metrics together points that automated data reconciliation, data validation can provide tremendous benefits. In those silos, in terms of data validation, quality, and automation, they can provide 80% upwards. Its effect on the overall migration timeline, anything by 20 to 35%. Now, that's not a small amount. That helps in giving you that dual benefit of accelerated time to value plus higher quality via trust. That is the basis on which we have built Smart Recon. And just to kind of finish this recap quickly, Smart Convert, before you start migration, get the complexity, get the mind map, get that value added insight, all the transformations, get an insight on that, get most of the manual work automated, most depending upon how complex, how outdated, or how legacy mired that particular technical debt is. Smart Recon, where we do this in terms of reconciliation and environment movement in an automated fashion. Smart governance to enable that horizontal layer of lock-in of compliance, which is extremely crucial when we talk about an enterprise context, and varying degrees of compliance across various industries. This is all covered under a lead portfolio of strategy and governance, which is leadership in enterprise data and analytics, as well as enabled by smart DevOps, which enables infrastructure deployment, IaaS and PaaS in hours and not in days. With that, I will start our demo. I'm sure you're all waiting eagerly for that. Before I do move on, Anjana, would you have anything to chime in while I bring up my screen? Or anyone else, please feel free to ask a question. So as you can see, our Smart Recon is, of course, an online enabled tool. Note that these are internal tools. These are accelerators. These are solution IPs. Of course, this is a collaborative environment. Because it is on the cloud, it's a cloud deployed solution. It can be shared across customer environments as well. However, it's not a standalone product like some solutions which can be taken as COTS off the shelf. But this is an element which allows us to collaborate and work together when we come to data reconciliation. Once logged in, the first thing that has to be done is set up a database connection, which will, of course, have a source database and a target database. Now, I've already created a database connection. Creating a database connection is quite simple and straightforward. I trust that the screen is refreshing in near real time, and I can see that also in my smaller window, the layover. So here I would put in a database name, which is my source, and then I would go for my connection string. Because I already have created a database, for the sake of convenience, I will put that in. And here I can give a plethora of the database type, the platform and the database that I am targeting to migrate to. Let's say we are moving from Databricks to BigQuery on GCP. So I'll select that. And I can upload a connection string, which is in a JSON file, which I'll just quickly upload. And I will also give a username, password for my connection. And that is all that will help me create the connection. This database connection, which is present, will also now have a number of schemas. These schemas enable me to define what are the elements that I will compare. Again, once a database connection is created, I could go up and update and add a schema, which would enable me to define the schema name, and that will be fetched from the database automatically, and it will populate this particular element. Right now, automatically populated with the whole schema set, we have got sales, 3 tables, inventory, 3 tables, operations, 3 tables. Focusing on, let's say, typically an area which is of interest in supply chain or manufacturing in the overall function of what's happening in goods and inventory. With this data setup done, we are now good to go into reconciliation. And that is where we'll have all the magic happening between source and target. When source and targets are different, like bringing, as I mentioned before, from a different source database to a target database, which could be different, and also then between environments, when the source and the target database type are going to be the same, but there would be differences in terms of transformation, depending upon the architecture of moving from bronze to silver to gold. Taking a quick brief pause here, I just want to share the flexibility that the tool brings and how we are able to do multiple things. Simplicity is a start, behind the scenes is a complexity. At the very onset, you can see that there's a cron and ad hoc option, meaning that as a team, as an analyst, as a developer, I could schedule my reconciliation jobs, I could run them ad hoc. Then there is no transformation and transformation. No transformation would mean there won't be any mean, max, aggregate, summation, ranges used for filtration, and different kinds of checks, which can be random samples when we are talking about going over terabytes and petabytes of data. And I'll repeat that. When we are going over terabytes and petabytes of data, we could do massive amount of transformation sample random checks. But when we are not doing such high volume transactions, we could try to do no transformation elements as well, where we could do very clear elements such as row count, listing count, and so on and so forth. So these both options provide the flexibility to also cater to the volume of data, the type of sensitivity of the data, and the overall time scale, right? Going back, if there is enough time and time in the overall schedule to do a very diligent, very detailed analysis, well, why not? We could run more test scripts. We could run more executions. When we are looking for a more pragmatic approach, it is important to also understand the volume and the context and then accordingly plan. That's where migration planning comes in, right? So with this element, what it offers is a flexibility of a 2x2 or four metrics combination for anybody using the reconciliation tool to execute. That's execution flexibility given to strategy. That is the whole power of having cron, ad hoc, no transformation, as well as transformation in this overall layout. Let me quickly touch upon cron as well. I could add a recon schedule, and I would get the similar kind of layout, excuse me, that I would for a ad hoc one. Because I want to do a live one, I'll choose ad hoc for the time being and go for a no transformation in the beginning. And I will also show a transformation in this remaining time if there are no other questions in the interim, but I will try to show both of them for all of your benefit. I'll take a quick pause. Sorry. So I'll be adding a reconciliation profile here where I'll select my source database, which is configured. I mentioned that we have taken BigQuery on GCP as the target one. I will select a source schema, and I will select a target schema in this as well. After that, I would look at the metrics because I'm doing a no transformation one. I'll try to select all of these and select the tables under each of them. Now, as we saw before, we have got three different schemas and different tables under each of them. Now, these are significantly large tables, not huge petabytes tables for this particular purpose. But of course, if you have got enough power in your setup, you could run this in any scale that you want. At this point in time, it will be a quick run, even though it's going to go across quite a large amount of data set. And once this has run, it will come to me as a CSV file, which I can check online as a user logged in to check what is the outcome of that. Depending upon that outcome, which is now automated completely, I don't have to be depending upon Recon run successful. It's gone here. I can download this. And let me now quickly switch to the view where I can see the Recon output. Just give me a second where I switch my screen. There we are. Is my screen refreshing? I hope so. Yes, it is. Yeah. So now, I mean, you can see that under a minute, we have run a large comparison, a data file, a simple one, no doubt, but it's given me the satisfaction that my source and target, let's say across different source DB and a target DB, which we did right now, is good. So I've got a success and I have run over, let's say 1.5K of data and across all columns in that, no matter how large they were. So what I will do is now I'll switch back to what I was talking about in the demonstration screen and take up a little more complex scenario, which we'll be looking at a place where maybe detecting a fault would have taken me a long time. So let me switch back to my demonstration. And here I will now go back to my reconciliation profile. Again, select ad hoc and select a transformation option. As I mentioned, transformation is extremely powerful because now it enables me to do different kinds of operations within the data. And that is extremely crucial, as I referred to, when we're talking about a huge volume of data. You want to kind of chunk it, slice it, sample it, things that statisticians love, right? And that is extremely important, even when we're trying to curate that data for data science. So the application of this is quite versatile. I'll select my database again, and I'll select my source table. In this case, let me take sales, choose orders, and let's take products. Let's take price, and let's take some elements such as count. And I want to do a filter where I want to take it down and I want to look at things which are in a filtered range, right? So I'm trying to not do a whole scan, but looking at a part set to kind of see the flexibility that is present. And hopefully this should match, but because in the backend, in the database, we know there is a gap. There was an element in the script which caused a migration to miss a couple of points. There will be a mismatch, which is expected. Now, I could also schedule this. As you can see, it has already created the query automatically. I could schedule this if I'm going for lunch, and I think, okay, it's going to go over, let's say, 2 terabytes of data. It'll take a few minutes, right? Or I could go for a coffee. I could also schedule that here and leave it, or I could just run it like ad hoc, which I will do right now, and wait for the results. As it runs, it will create the similar kind of report that we saw for node transformation. And I'll try to kind of show the report to you as well. Let this finish. And we'll go back and look at the super. So it didn't take that long. And therefore, I couldn't take a break for coffee as well. And here we go. And this is the download. Now, I will try to switch to the report again. Let me see if that report is open now. Is my screen visible? I hope so. So
No, we can't see your screen.
just a second, something in my Meet tab. Okay, screen sharing went wrong. Let me try again. So sorry for that switch. I have to, because I mean, there are different windows open. And this is the run that we did right now. And I can see that there is a difference, a mismatch in null count. So the filtered element went over about 30K rows. And there is a difference in the minimum value as well as the sum, which is the result of fail, which is extremely useful because right now I know that within this range there is an issue. Now, while we kind of ensured that there was an issue because we knew this beforehand in the data set, but imagine capturing this automatically over large sets of data, chunking them by different conditions and aggregating those results for quick precise data validation, and resolution. This is the power of the Recon tool, and you could now, is my screen still not visible?
It is.
Okay, sorry. I got another Meet notification saying some issue, but yeah. So with this particular demonstration, I'll take a quick pause and switch back to the main app, where I would like to spend just a few seconds talking about an important functionality, which is why we have the cron job as well. So the element of the cron job offers the ability to slice and dice the data very pragmatically across multiple batches and schemas. So if you look at it in practicality, whenever we are talking about doing reconciliation, we need to be sure that it happens in a time when it is beneficial for the overall project, right? So scheduling that when there can be maximum use of the system, then when developers are not working, when the system is not becoming sluggish, enables us to not only deploy this in the right time, but also chunk it across multiple environments as well as multiple schemas, multiple slices of data when we're talking of terabytes and petabytes of data. I trust that you found this session informative and insightful. Pleasure bringing it to you. Always automation brings delight because customers enjoy it, our teams enjoy it, and it helps in overall collaboration. Looking forward to questions.
Thanks, Joy. We'll open the floor. If anyone has any questions amongst the audience, they can help us with by raising their hand. Okay. So I guess we don't have any questions from the audience, Joy. Thank you so much for this insightful presentation.
My pleasure. And I have to give a shout out to the whole team which did it. It's all stuff which is done as innovation at the desk, and we don't think about this enough, but it's all done as part of our everyday job. And this is something that we do as a team. So a big shout out to everyone at BluePi for bringing this out.
Thank you, Joy. Thanks everyone for joining. In case you have a question that comes to your mind later on, just shoot us an email and we'll try to answer that. Thank you so much.
Bye.